Guys, I wish I knew what I was welcoming you to, but I have no fucking clue what we're about to jump into.
What do you mean? This is you are not normal with TONYMONT. This is the new podcast, and this is the first podcast we're doing. What camera am I looking in that one?
You're looking right there.
Can it see me? It looks like it's looking in the mirror, the middle here.
Yeah, it's looking at the middle.
All right.
You want it to look at just you?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine. This is the new podcast. You are not normal with TONYMONT. We're getting it started this year. It's a goal of mine. This is Giovanni, my storyteller, content creator, and we couldn't get any guests last minute, so that's why Gio's here. We have to get content, and we need to start pushing the podcast because people need it, people want it, people ask me about it. When's it going to start? We're going to have guests on, going to do solo podcasts. Gio's here to trigger my mind into creativity, which
Yes.
he's very good at doing.
Mm-hmm. So if you guys don't know, TONYMONT is an eccentric human being. Now, Tony, if you're going to describe yourself, where in that sentence would you put the phrase "piece of shit" inside of that thing?
Right in front of your name. But eccentric. I don't even know what that word really means, to be honest with you. Like when I think eccentric, it's the photo of that guy I just showed you on Instagram, where he's got obvious fake teeth, tons of gold.
No.
He wears those like gold shirts. His hair's all up in the air.
No. When I think of eccentric, I think of someone who is unpredictable. Someone who's going to like things that you would not imagine they like, who's going to act ways that you wouldn't imagine that they act. And when I think of TONYMONT, that's exactly what I think of.
But I get that from a lot of people. It happened my whole life where it's like, man, before I met you, I thought you were going to be the biggest douchebag. But now that I meet you in person, like you're super down to earth.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's my looks. God cursed me with this face. But it's funny because people always say, like, you look like you're from, like, Jersey Shore or something. Yeah, but I can't help that. I mean, I have dark skin, I have bad tattoos, and my beard is gray.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it's, I'm from the Midwest, and I think people from the Midwest are super down to earth. And, because everybody's from, like, small towns around Chicago and stuff. It's not like I didn't grow up in a big city. I grew up outside of Chicago, like a lot of people do in the Midwest that end up in the city. But there's something about getting through like a 6-month winter with everybody. Yeah. It makes it like way more communal. Mm-hmm. And anybody who's been to Chicago knows, like, you walk down the street, people want to talk to you. Like, people are talkative in that city. Mm-hmm. And they're warm, they're down to earth, because 6 months goes by where you can't do anything outside unless you want to die. Mm-hmm. So you're spending a lot of time inside throughout the year because it's too cold to do anything else. And you're sitting around a table, you're having beers, you're playing poker, you're playing pool, you're playing darts, you're bullshitting about your day, you're bitching about your day, people are letting off steam. You walk to a bar when it's negative 20 degrees in the city, and you walk in and people look at you like you made it. Like you didn't get frostbite on the way here, and you take your jacket off and people are just like happy to see you, even if you don't know them. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I'm like down to earth, because I just grew up around people that were in the Midwest.
As you were explaining that whole thing, I can literally picture, because obviously, like, I go out to events with Tony and Eric, and I'm filming them and I'm watching them as they do these things, and you guys get approached in a different manner, and you also interact with a different manner. Like, you'll just be standing somewhere, and you might be there for 2 or 3 seconds. All of a sudden, I turn around, you guys have a huddle around you, and people are just sitting there for 20 minutes at a time. Then you got a line forming around that for it. It is such a necessary skill, and I think we had talked about this before. Like, kids nowadays are just like open mouth hunts for like everything that goes on, and I think that what you're doing and you're branding for it is refreshing to have someone. Unfortunately, it's considered old school now to have a fucking conversation with somebody.
Well, and just to have enough experiences in your life to have a conversation. Like, how can you have multiple conversations with multiple people about multiple subjects if all you've done in your life is sit on Instagram or watch TV or played video games or not traveled or had those experiences? Like, I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my life, but I've had a ton of experiences because of it. And I say yes to a lot of adventures or ideas or things people want to do just for the experience. And, I think that helps in life with building relationships, with speaking on podcasts, with speaking on stages, and in sales, because what better way to build rapport than knowing a little bit about a lot of subjects? When somebody throws something out there, I can usually talk about it. Yeah. Like you said, like your definition of eccentric is me like being able to go from subject to subject and have an opinion on it. I'm like really opinionated and they're my own opinions. I don't let people skew my view of things. Like I'll listen to people, I listen to podcasts and stuff like that, and people talk about subjects, but I don't just get married to an idea. It's like I'll listen to people's ideas and I'm like, well, how do I feel about that? I feel this way about it, The
reason that you can form that opinion is because you're actually, as you mentioned, you're doing things though. When you're not doing anything, the only thing that you have to rely on is other people's opinions. So that's why they're so stuck in not being able to do anything. And just for people to get an insight on this is something that also I think you talk about that helps you with your anxiety and stuff like that, is that you're constantly busy. So like walk somebody through TONYMONT wakes up, first thing that happens, and just show them how busy you are. People who think they can just ask you to comp stuff on Instagram and you not do it.
So I wake up about, let's just call it 6:30 every morning. I don't set an alarm. I just get up when my body tells me to. That's usually between 5:30 and 6:30, no matter what time I go to bed. If I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, I wake up at 5:30 to 6:30. If I go to bed at 1 in the morning, I'm up at the same time. So I get up, first thing I do, get out of bed and turn around and make my bed real quick. Like that's the first thing I do. It's like I don't want anything unsettled when I move on to the next thing. It's like the same in my kitchen. Like if I dirty my cup that I have my smoothie in, like the minute I'm done with it, I clean it and it's done, so I don't got to think about it. Like I want to just cover my tracks, So make my bed first thing. I go downstairs and I instantly brew a pot of coffee. I love coffee. I'll never stop drinking it. I don't care if they say, caffeine's going to knock 10 years off your life. I don't want to live an extra 10 years without caffeine. So I love coffee. I've been drinking coffee since I was a kid. Like my uncle, my godfather used to take me to breakfast when I was little. And I'm saying 10 years old. And we would go to Potato Shack in Rockford, and I would sit there and order a coffee. And I would drink coffee at 10 years old while he chain smokes. This was back in the day you could smoke in diners. And it's just what a healthy environment. I'm eating pancakes and drinking coffee at 10 years old with just everybody blowing smoke in my face.
You got a backpack on.
Yeah. So love coffee. It's just a part of my life. I'll drink it all day. So that's the first, it's my favorite part of the day. It's usually dark out when I wake up, but I brew that coffee and, the sun starts coming up while I'm drinking it. And for the first half hour I'm awake, I just drink coffee, and most of it's in silence. And then I'll open up Instagram. I'll post the first story that I typically do every morning because, once my brain does start turning on with the coffee hitting me, I'll come up with thoughts on a photo.
He does those every day on the fly, guys. Every day on the fly. He doesn't have a writer for those. That's him 100% of the time writing it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I come up with something that, is inspiring, and it literally just looking at a photo will trigger me into ideas, and I'll start writing them down, and then I'll start editing those ideas and ultimately try to come up with something efficient that I can put out there into the world that's usually positive. And then after that, I usually will use the restroom because the coffee's working. And then I like to go for either a jog or get on the Stairmaster. And if I go for a jog, it's typically 2 miles. If I do the Stairmaster, it's either 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then after that, I take a cold shower to the point where... And people this whole cold plunge shit is it's a new fad, which drives me nuts because it's I hate to admit that I just ordered a cold plunge, and I'm going to be one of those douchebags on Instagram talking about it.
You're going to be that guy.
I'm going to be in it. It's going to be embarrassing, but I'm going to do it anyway. But when I was young, I must have been, this was in 94, we moved. So I was 11, 12 years old. We moved into our new house when I was a kid. And I remember like taking a hot shower, my entire body would like break out in hives. Like no matter if I use soap or not, like for some reason, the hot water on my skin, I don't know if it was, the water softener or whatever it was in this house, but I noticed if I took a cold shower, I wouldn't get itchy. So I started taking cold showers literally when I was like 12 years old, probably. And I just, when I started doing it, I just felt better. So that just continued my whole life. And I've been taking cold showers, most of my life. And I tell everybody, it's like, if I take a cold shower in the morning, which I do every morning, then it just gives me all this energy. Like I could be in the worst mood possible. I could be sleepy. I could be stressed out. The minute I walk out of that shower, like if there's music playing, I'm singing along to it. Like I'm just in a good mood. It puts me in a good mood, makes me feel good, gets my brain clear. So I always take a cold shower, and then I have my shake that everybody sees.
Please talk. I think this would be a great place to maybe unveil the ingredients of this, because people have been dying to know what
the
you
only
put
reason
into
I
that damn
don't
thing.
say the ingredients is because I don't really know them. Like it's so I freeze blackberries. Instead of putting ice in there, now I got frozen blackberries, so I'm going to add ice to it. That's a little trick. I freeze a half bananas. So I cut up bananas and freeze those. So you got enough cold shit in there to make the drink cold. So I do, half a banana, half a cup of blueberries. I do a half an avocado. Okay. And then I do protein oats, a half a cup of protein oats. And then I have all these supplements I put in there. I have like lion's mane mushrooms with caffeine powder in there. I have beet powder. I have athletic greens. I have some fiber in there. I have a protein powder that I put in there.
What does this taste like in the end? I think a lot of people want to know.
It tastes really good.
Oh,
yeah.
I was waiting for it to taste.
No, it tastes great. And then I put, what else is in there? Well, everybody knows the raw egg is in there. That's the last thing I do. But there was one more thing that I put. Oh, yogurt. I put Greek yogurt in there. So everything in there is like proteins and nutrients and good for you. So, the only sweet stuff I put in there is really the banana and blueberries, and the yogurt a little bit, but it's like 1 gram of sugar. So if I'm going to eat sugar throughout the day, like unless somebody brings cookies in here, I'll eat them, but I don't buy anything with sugar. I try not to. So the only sugar I get is fruit in the morning. So I can just burn that off. I don't want to eat it at night. And then obviously the raw egg on top of it is the morning post that people love. Like it gets so many comments and people are grossed out or inspired by it. But it reminds me of Rocky when he started training the first morning he woke up. He put all those eggs in that glass and just slammed it. And when I was a kid, I used to do that. Like I used to put raw eggs in a glass and slam it. And I'd hit a heavy bag or do push-ups. I thought it was like the coolest thing. So I decided to put the Rocky theme behind the raw egg in the morning. People love it.
It's been iconic for you. I think that people, like you mentioned, are absolutely loving this. And as you guys see, it's nothing fancy for it. On that line of social media, what are your general thoughts or takes, or what would you suggest to the audience when it comes to social media? What have you experienced the past year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah, it's so many people are scared to do social media, and because of they're insecure, or they think they can't give any value. Like that's the number one thing people ask, or people tell me, "Oh, I'm going to get my social media going. I'm going to get my branding going," and they never do because they don't think they know how to, and they don't think they have anything that somebody else doesn't know. But that couldn't be more further from the truth. Like it doesn't. Everybody even watching this, somebody has something they can teach somebody, and you just got to be super consistent with it and put something out there every day. You don't need a geo. I mean, I do, but you don't need one. You can literally just grab your phone, do a selfie, do a video, tell the world your thoughts, your experiences. You've had experiences that nobody else has had. You've gotten through things that nobody else has gotten through. You're going through something today that people need to learn about. Like, you do something every day that people will respond to. So if you're, on the fence on getting on social media, you just got to start doing it today, and you got to do it every day. Mm-hmm. And it slowly will build. I mean, maybe you're only going to get 1 follower a day off of it for a while. Then that turns to 10, then 100, then 1,000, So it's just being consistent and putting positivity out there with a little bit of negativity, when you have to, because it's fun. But yeah, just don't take yourself too serious. Don't be a douchebag, and just be yourself.
What have been, and I'm going to jump back into your routine after this, but what have been some of the best stories or experiences that you have gotten from social media, maybe from somebody who's followed you and you didn't know that they were doing it, or like, how has that helped connect you to the world in a way you haven't seen before?
Yeah, I mean, the first person that comes to mind, because my phone reminded me of it, was when Jerry Norton followed me. Like, I thought that was like the coolest thing, because when I first got into wholesaling, and I was trying to dispo deals, that was like the number one person I was watching on YouTube. Guy. He's the man, especially for dispositions and just breaking down his YouTube content on how you actually do stuff. So when I got to meet Jerry, it was, basically through social media. I was invited to speak at an event he was at in Milwaukee. He invited me, had heard about me through some people, and invited me on his podcast, and then followed me, and we've been friends ever since. So that was just a really cool experience for me, being able to learn from somebody over YouTube, not knowing if I'd ever meet that person. First day I meet him, he puts me on his podcast, follows me on Instagram, and we become friends. We've done a Spartan race together, and great guy.
So you never know where it is that you're going to come where you're going to go when it comes to social media and the people that you can meet, the connections that you can have. For your branding, a big part of that is discipline and the stuff that you do. We've already started to go over the couple things in your day, and if we look at those things, like, you're knocking out a lot of the tough stuff, the stuff that you don't necessarily want to do early on in the day. And discipline being a big part of that. What goes next in your list and your routine? Yeah.
So, well, first of all, I want to say this too. Like, with there's a story out there of like prisoners of war, and the ones that made it through being in prison during war and not going crazy and not killing themselves and not getting killed had a routine every morning. It's like a common theme through somebody that was locked up in those times, where if they let themselves go and got out of a routine, they wouldn't make it. Like, their brain fucked with them. Mm-hmm. It's the same with people in prison too. Like, if you are that solitary and locked up, like, you need a routine. You need something to look forward to. You need something to keep your mind off of it. So that routine is like just super important to me. Mm-hmm. And I shave every day. Like, I'd never come in here with hair on my neck, and I shave every day. Like, I do the exact same things every single day. I don't shave every other day. I shave every day, so I wear the same outfit every day. It's just
you guys look at his Instagram reels, and you'll see about 4 outfits, and he's just flip flopping a couple things.
That's it. I don't got to think about it. It's the same thing every day. I remember my mentor told me one time too, because my life was so out of control when I was a kid, and I always told him. He always said to me, because if I stuck to a routine, I was fine. My anxiety would be down. I'd be in the best place mentally. And the times I wasn't, the first thing he would say is, "You're out of your routine. Like, what are you doing that's out of your routine? You got to get back to it." And he was right every time. So for the way he explained it was, my childhood was so out of control. If I can control this routine, then all right, that part of my day is done. I don't got to worry about it anymore. I've controlled it. I'm good. Moving on to the next thing. So the next thing is just getting to work. I'm usually here, I would say, a half hour to 45 minutes before our first meeting. And I like to get in here and just look at what I have to get done for the day and just write a list of those things I got to get done today. Mm-hmm. And I don't get to every single thing every single day, but it's so important to write down what you have to do and then just slowly check them off as you get through your day, because we all get distracted. Things pop up, people call in, there's a problem to solve here, a fire to put out here. And if you don't have that structure written down every day, you're going to forget where you were at with your goals for that day. You're not going to know what you had to go back to or what is next. So it's not like I can ever get in here, sit down, and just rip through my goals for the day. That never happens. But if I have that structure, I know, okay, I can at least get this one done first thing. All right, I got to go put this fire out. Now back to my list.
Yeah.
So I do that, work all day, and then, go to the gym after work, lift some weights, go home, another shower, another meal, and try to get to bed. Well, actually, when I get home, the first thing I do is sit in complete silence and just meditate. Sometimes that takes, 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes 15 minutes. But I'm around so much noise all day. I talk all day long that it's nice just to come home and just relax for a minute. I'm not somebody that watches TV or anything. So I can just come home, sit, and just meditate and relax, think about my day in meditation and just calm my mind, and it kind of eases me into my night.
When you talk about that routine, people can probably look at that and be like, I don't want to turn myself into a robot, or I'm not going to be able to have any fun for it or anything like that. But you find ways to still make it interesting and throw new challenges at yourself so that you're always sharp. Right now, you're learning Spanish. First, why, and how's it going?